Hello and welcome. I have been crafting for quite a number of years and I've never thought to do this before, but I have started a knitting journal. Well, not a knitting journal, it's a crafting journal, but I tend to knit more than anything else at the moment. I've started a crafting journal in this lovely notebook that I've had for many years and not found a permanent use for it until now. So I do have an Etsy shop and an Instagram page, both called Cedig Crafts, although the Etsy is Cedig Craft because I had an old Etsy with the Cedig Crafts, lost the login, hullabaloo, had to make a new one. And I rarely take pictures of the things that I make for the Etsy shop, mainly because I'm concentrating more on making the thing, making sure it's done well and getting it out to the customer. I always forget to take photos of things, so this year I wanted to make sure that I took photos of everything that I'm making a diary of it as well, so that I can look back and see the different things that I've made. This video will be looking over what I've made so far since the new year. It's only been a week, but because I've had the week off my main job, because I do have a full-time office job, I have had the time to do a lot more crafting than I normally would do in a normal week. I thought start the year off with a bang and get this started. I'm not usually one for making like New Year's resolutions or anything like that, but I do think it is nice to start something new at the new year because you've got a definitive beginning point for something and it's easy to look back and know when you started it. So what we'll do in this video is look over the things that I've finished, started, or both since the new year. There are some things that I don't have physically to show you in the video because they've already been sent out to people, but the things I do have I will show you, and the things that I don't I will add photos in so you can see them. So first up is, I've put these both together because they were for one order, but two pairs of fingerless gloves. I did one in a dusky pink and one in a grey. These were for an Etsy order. I started them before the beginning of the year, but I finished them in January, so that's why they're included in here. I also put a K here, so I know that it's a knitted item. When I look back on this, I should be able to tell myself anyway which things they are, but just for posterity's sake, I've put a little K there. This is from a pattern that I devised myself. Basically, I didn't find a specific fingerless gloves pattern. I've made fingerless gloves for years in various different ways. In fact, the first pair of fingerless gloves I made were basically just a tube with a gap missing for the thumb to go through that I gave to my dad. And he still uses them to this day. He uses them when he goes running, when it's cold weather outside. It is a basic fingerless glove. There's no individual fingers at the hand, but there is an individual like thumb tube. I do have two patterns for fingerless gloves. One is with the tube, one is without. I sell a pattern for the one without the tube, and I don't for the one with the tube because I've not got around to actually making it into a PDF or anything. Might be something that I do in the future if I have the time, but for right now I'm not done. So yeah, these have been sent off to their buyer. I'm not sure if she has received them. Hopefully she has done by now, but I've not heard back from her either way. The second item is another pair of fingerless gloves, again in that same grey, but these are a gift for our postman, and I wanted to show him how grateful me and my husband are for everything that he does for us. So that I could get it finished nice and quickly, I omitted the thumb and just have a little gap there. I prefer these ones. When I'm wearing them myself, I prefer ones without the thumb tube anyway. I wanted to get it finished quickly because I had intended on making and giving him something by Christmas. As Christmas does, it got away from us and I didn't see him during the week between Christmas and New Year because we were off visiting family in various places around the country. So I didn't have the opportunity, so I gave it to him as soon as I was able to after it was finished on the 2nd. The next one, I do have the actual item for this. So this is the sock itself. I started this one before the new year, but I finished it on the 2nd of January. It is part of my odd sock collection, which is basically any yarns I get that are for socks, I will make a sock from them, but I won't necessarily make a pair for that yarn in particular, mainly because once I've made one sock I get fatigued by it almost and I don't want to make a second one. So to combat that, I just don't make a second one. If I'm making them for an order or for a customer or whatever, or a gift for someone else, I will make a matching pair, but for myself I don't. These are socks that I usually only wear around the house or with walking boots or what have you. So it doesn't really matter too much if they match or not. Plus, it means I can save a couple of minutes in the morning. All I have to do is pick 2 socks out. I don't have to make sure that they're the same colour or anything. So this is made from a yarn from Cedig Crafts. They are on Etsy and I get a lot of my yarns from them. In fact, the yarns that I have extra, because I have quite a few sock yarns now, I'd say probably about half of them, over half, are from Cedig Crafts. But I really like the yarns. They're really nice. They're really fabulous to work with. And even though like indie dyers and independent dyed yarns can be a bit more expensive, they're absolutely worth every penny. And the name of this colourway is Dilithium Crystal, so if, like me, you're a bit of a Star Trek nerd, you will know that that is a callback to that. And in fact, a lot of their yarns are nerdy or pop culture in some way inspired, and I really like that. And the next one is another sock, which I started on the 3rd of January and finished on the 4th. This one, I again have the sock itself. Is from a different dyer. This is from Cheshire Yarn Hand Dyed, again on Etsy, and the colour of this one is October Sky. Not normally a fan of pink myself, but with the greys mixed in, I think it's really nice, and my birthday's in October, so that's why I got this yarn. I realise that I haven't talked about the pattern for these yet. So again, it's a pattern that I came up with myself. It's based on a pattern from a tutorial on YouTube, which is how I learned how to make socks, but I have made a few changes here and there to make the pattern my own. I don't sell the pattern because it's heavily based on someone else's pattern, and while legally I don't think there's any issues with me doing that, there are so many sock patterns out there, it wouldn't be worth me sort of putting pen to paper and putting one together for how simple these socks are. If it was a dead fancy sock or something, you know, very unique and spectacular, I would consider it, but it's just a general sock pattern, which, if you're looking for a sock pattern, you'll probably be able to find quite easily and for free, because I did on the YouTube tutorial. I will put a link below to that playlist, actually, if I can find it. I should be able to find it. I think I remember who it was. It was a few years ago now, but I will do my very best to put a link in the description below for that. And the next is a, I got this wrong at first, but granny square cardigan, but it's not, it's a granny hex cardigan. It's not finished. I started it on the 3rd of January, but this one's crocheted, hence the C in the corner there. It's a bit big to show the whole thing, but basically it's in James C. Brett Marble Chunky 101. This one is going to take me a while to finish because I need at least 200 or 300 grams, maybe more, of the yarn to finish it off. I've nearly finished this ball. This is how much I've got left of this one so far. The yarn itself, or this ball of yarn, was a gift from one of my colleagues for our Secret Santa. Quite by chance, she got pretty much my favourite yarn. I've always loved the James C. Brett Marble Chunkies as crochet yarn because I like yarn that works up quite quickly, and Chunky does that nicely. I like the variegated colours. I just like everything about it. So I'm making, I mean, this says cardigan. It might end up being a jumper. I haven't decided yet, but I'm nowhere near finishing this, so I don't have to decide just yet. The pattern for this, again, there's not really a pattern that I follow. I just make 2 of the granny hexagons and then sew them up in whatever configuration I want. I've made many like granny hex cardies before, purely because they're really easy to do and they're suitable for all sorts of different occasions depending on what yarn you use. Like I used a white cotton yarn to make a small one for my niece for wearing at mine and my husband's wedding, which was last year, and it didn't take very long because she was about 3.5 years old at the time, so it didn't have to be very big, and it worked really well. And she's worn it a few times since as well. And yeah, I really like making granny hex cardigans because they're the kind of thing I can make without thinking too hard about it. I just keep going until the yarn runs out or until it's big enough. The next thing is my knitted jumper. I started this on the 4th of January. This is it. So I'm nowhere near finishing it. I'm nearly finished on the shoulder to armpit area. Then I'll have the body and the 2 arms to do. One thing I really like about raglan jumpers is the increases. I think they look so pretty and they're really, really nice. And I know it's a weird thing to really like, but it's just very pleasing. Basically, I've made the increases are just make one right and make one left, and then they form this nice pattern going out, and it's very pleasing to the eye. The pattern for this is again one that I've made myself, and the reason for that is because I am very plus size, shall we say. So it's difficult for me to find existing patterns for things that will fit me. So I tend to look at techniques and the basic construction of something and then make the pattern myself for it when it comes to wearables for myself. It was a fair amount of trial and error to get this jumper basically. So I have made a few different goes at different yarns, different needle sizes, basically based off measurements and maths, worked out how many rows, how many stitches, where to do the increases, if I need decreases and things like that. And I did a tester jumper which I finished in December, which I do actually wear, because even though it was a tester jumper, I tried to make it in such a way that if it worked out and it fit me okay, I'd still be able to wear it. I haven't got it to hand right now. Oh no, wait, yes I do. It was on the back of my chair. So as you can see here, I have made stripes basically. It was made out of waste yarn, well not waste yarn, it's made out of leftover yarn from other projects. So I had a lot of balls of just random colours to make my job easier with working out rows and stitches and things. Each colour is 10 rows, so it just made it a lot easier for me working out how many rows I need to do. So I know that that is 40, and I know, you know, I made it easy for myself to be able to work out what I need to do for the real thing. So this is the result of probably about 6 months worth of trial and error. And I really, really like the colour of this yarn. It's honestly one of my favourite colours. I have always liked the colour green. I think because it was my grandmother's favourite colour, and I know it sounds silly, you know, you shouldn't base your likes and dislikes on things that other people like. But I agree with her in this case, and I absolutely love this colour. I would have most things made in this colour if I didn't wear black most of the time. And the last thing that I started, which was yesterday, is another sock. This one is in another soggy kookaburra yarn. This one is Thanos. I've had this for a while. I'm not sure if they still have it in their Etsy shop, but I really like this colour. It's, again, I'm not a big fan of pink, but it works well in this context, and I'm hoping to have this sock finished maybe today or tomorrow. I have a few things on the go at the moment in my whip basket, which I don't know if you can see. This here is where I just put everything for this video, but it's usually where I keep all my whips or my works in progress, and I want to try and have as few things on the go at one time as I can. I don't want to have more than, say, 2 or 3 things on the go. Basically, I have a tendency to have too many things on the go, forget about some things, put them away, and then when I come back to them, I have absolutely no idea what I was intending on doing, unless it's like a specific pattern that I've already got written down, and then I just end up frogging it and using that yarn for something else. So I want to basically keep going with things until I finish them, rather than pausing halfway through and starting something else. I have 3 things on the go at the moment, which is the Granny Hex crocheted cardigan or jumper, the green knitted jumper, and that knitted sock. And the reason I started another sock before finishing the cardigan is because until I buy more yarn, I'm not going to be able to finish that cardigan jumper anyway. I will probably have to wait until after payday before I get more yarn for that jumper, cardigan, whatever it's going to be in the end, purely because it will probably be about 20 quid or so, and I'm definitely feeling the January crunch. So once payday rolls around, I will be getting the yarn to finish that off and moving on to the next page in my diary. So thank you for joining me on my journey through January so far. Things will slow down. There's a lot of momentum in my crafting diary so far, but that's, like I said at the beginning, only because I've had this week off from work. Things will slow down more as we go on, because when I'm at work I have to concentrate on the job, funnily enough. I do sometimes take in knitting and crochet projects to work, but I will only work on them during my break times. I won't knit or crochet while I'm doing my job. If the weather's nice, I try and go for a little walk during my lunch break, but this time of year in Manchester the weather is not quite as forgiving as the spring and summer, so I tend to just sit at my desk and do some knitting during my lunch break. So thank you for joining me on my January so far. I'll probably do updates every month or so, because like I said, the momentum will slow down very much from here because I'm going back to work on Monday, so there won't be as much each week. And I hope you'll join me for the next one. Happy crafting if you are a fellow crafter.